Man, check this out.
This is the Rob Brown Show. Get Rob. Only on
The Fan Upstate.
Yeah! Well, good morning, all you good-looking, beautiful, shining people out there. Welcome to the Rob Brown Show. It's on the radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. What's happening? Happy Tuesday to you. Hope you're having a lovely week so far. Hope Monday didn't kick you around. Hope Tuesday's off on the right foot. I just hope everything in your life is stellar right now. And, no.
You're becoming Mike Francesa with your voice over there. That's scary. That's scary. You're not going to fall asleep during the show, are you? Like Francesa does.
Oh, he really has. Last night, fiance gets home. We're just hanging out at the house. Decided to have a low-key night because we got some stuff that we've got to do tonight. I've got a couple of interview appearances I'm doing on other networks and stations tonight, just relaxing a little bit. And it gets to be about 9:30, 10 o'clock. She goes to bed because we live on opposite schedules. She's the type of person that goes to bed at 8:45 at night. I'm the type of dude that is still tweeting about Costco at 2:30 in the morning. And I don't remember specifically what we're talking about. But I said something to her, and I said it in this voice. And she's like, if you're trying to sound sexy right now, it's not working. And I said, well, good thing, because I'm not. This, for about 3 more days, is just how I talk. It's not intentional. Then I find myself in this groove. It's just how Daddy's working right now.
You know, if you want, I can send you this music so you can just have it ready on your phone. I don't know if it'll help or anything, but you never know. You bust that out at some point, you know.
You know, I don't not want that. Did you do the dishes yet? Honey, I'm going to get to them. You just give me a few more minutes and Daddy will take care of it. Don't you worry. Those dishes are going to get done so good. All right. Oh, man. We made it 3 minutes. We made it 3 minutes before we got off the rails. That's all right. You wouldn't expect anything less from an award-winning radio show like ourselves, would you?
Lonzo is a superstar.
All right. You're just getting carried away.
No, I had that. I never got to use that.
Lonzo is a superstar.
Who is that?
I believe it's Dari Noka.
Lonzo is a superstar.
I was just talking about Lonzo Ball.
No.
Got it. It's talking about Lonzo Ball.
No.
That makes
No.
sense. Big Charlotte Hornets guy
No.
right there.
No. He was talking about.
Looking forward to the 23 Hornets season.
If you had something like that, if someone said something about someone named Rob, I mean, I would be like, well, yeah, of course it's talking about you. Why you got to do that to me? He's talking about me.
Lonzo is a superstar.
Oh, the soundboard.
Yeah. I got to stop doing that. You're not going to have a voice pretty soon. Here, let's do this one. That one doesn't hurt as much.
I can't do that. That one's worse. That one is worse, man.
How about this one?
Yeehaw. You having a good time?
I am. This is awards week for us. I mean, yeah.
It is awards week. That is correct.
I tried on my get up last night. Looking pretty cowboy.
Are you now?
Can't wait. Yeah.
What belt buckle did you go with?
There's a new sheriff in town.
What belt buckle did you go with?
When you got a sturdy belly, belt buckle don't matter because you can't see it.
Oh my God.
Plus it can bite. And you don't want it biting, if you know what I mean. That belt buckle bites.
What belt buckle did you go with? Doesn't matter. It don't matter. It's covered up. It's sturdy, though. Tell you what. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a day lined up for you today. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to get to on the radio broadcast today. We have got More conference expansion news.
ACC.
You know what? Let me
You got to do it with an accent because it is the ACC.
Which one gets the more country accent, ACC or SEC?
Well, ACC don't have a catchphrase. SEC, it means more.
Yes, they do.
Well, what is it?
I don't remember.
He's got to look it. He's got to look it up.
I do.
It matters so much. He's got to look it up.
Again, I'm not conference superiority guy.
Yeah, me neither.
Never have been. I mean, I get the argument, but I've never been.
But the SEC had what's her name?
ACC's motto
had Ashley Judd do the voice, I think, for SEC. So I mean,
what's the motto with the ACC? Let's see.
I don't think that's the. Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there.
There it is. See, I combined Seinfeld and
It wasn't.
Really
it wasn't a bad Seinfeld. I mean,
what's the deal with airline food?
You should see his face on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Xyo.
About Triple H getting into the X game.
We're
coming to that later.
Took him long enough.
We're coming to that later. Let me start with this, my friends, my dear listeners, my compatriots, my comrades in sports talk entertainment arms. I started thinking last night after the unfortunate events of yesterday's show, where
what happened?
Where many of you were quite distraught, dismayed, upset by the fact that we spent north of an hour talking about conference football expansion. And when I started with the thoughts that I was having on that, I started writing what I honestly thought was going to be an apology to you all. I really did.
Nope.
I was going to apologize to you for having one specific topic eat up so much of your valuable showtime.
Why? It's done all the time on this station. So, I mean,
I know.
Go with the flow.
Clean my camera lens over here.
Okay, I was trying to figure out what you were using there.
The
underwear, probably not the good thing to go with there.
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
It's not. But this is really dope. Look, when this towel shakes around, there's lights in it. So when you're walking in a dark arena.
Oh, that is cool.
Isn't that dope?
Who's that from?
The Predators, the Nashville Predators, man.
Oh, that's cool.
This was their 2019 playoff gift to the fans. It's dark, but then when you shake it, it lights up. So when the arena's going nuts,
it's like them snakers that light up when you walk.
The old LA Gear. Who didn't, dude? You weren't cool if you didn't have LA Gear back in the day. LA Gear was it.
By the way, they didn't exist when I was.
That checks out. So
back in my day.
Yesterday, we spent a little over an hour talking about college football conference expansion, and I was genuinely going to apologize for that. I was going to apologize to all of you for having one topic eat up so much of the show, but
I'm glad you didn't, because you're Rob Brown, man. You don't need to apologize. Rob Brown don't apologize. Rob Brown comes on the air, and Rob Brown does what Ron Brown does, and Ron Brown too.
Who's Ron?
Yeah, I don't know.
Damn, Ron runs everything.
Ron's awesome, though.
Sincerely, I was going to apologize because while I am indeed Rob Brown, and while this is indeed the Rob Brown Show, and while at the end of the day, and one of the reasons I work here is because of the fact that there is no editorial control of this show outside of me and Lonzo. That's it. What gets talked about on the air is decided by the two of us. So
yeah, I got a button over there.
He sure does. So I was going to apologize because even though I am Rob Brown and this is the Rob Brown Show, at the end of the day, I still have to provide stuff that you guys want to hear about, want to talk about, want to engage with. And one of the cardinal rules of radio is that you do not hang on to a single topic for that long. But the more I thought about it, the more I started kicking that idea around in my head, I came to the conclusion that I am not going to apologize for how that show ran yesterday. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first is it's not my fault, right? This topic, this news story is enormous. And I want you to think about this, the enormity of it. I don't want you just to consider this show.
It's huge.
Huge. No one has ever seen. I can't do it right now. All right, I'll come back to that. I want you to think about every show that you've been paying attention to. I want you to think about Offsides with Mark Ryan. I want you to think about the Pat McAfee show. I want you to think about Dellinger and 40 and Wenzel on the Yahoo show if you listen to that. I want you to think about every college football-centric show that you pay attention to, sincerely. And I want you to do an inventory in your brain about what the topic has been for the past few days. All of us are dialed in on that one topic. Now, some of us are trying to work in conversation about, football in the world of college football right now. But I thought about it last night at a point in time where we should be talking about Cade Klubnik, Spencer Rattler, Dabo Sweeney, Shane Beamer, at a point in time where we should be talking about Jordan Travis and Mike Norvell, Kirby Smart and whoever his quarterback's going to be, Josh Heupel and Joe Milton, at a point in time where we should be talking players and coaches, programs and conferences, conference championships and playoff berths. At a point in time, we should be talking about all of this. We're not. We're not. Because conference expansion is that big of a deal. And it's not just me. It's everybody. I caught up a little bit on McAfee yesterday. We're going to hear a clip later from McAfee show. Adam Thielen was on talking about Bryce Young. We're going to talk about BY because Frank Reich said that BY will be getting the nod as QB1 in preseason game number 1 this Saturday against the Jets. We're going to talk about that. Our first action seeing BY against a different team. And I think that's important to talk about. But we're not the only show. I tuned in yesterday for about 40 minutes to a show down in Tallahassee, Florida, because I was very curious as to what the conversation was that was taking place down there, right? Like, what are they talking about in Seminole Country? Which I think right now is kind of the epicenter of a lot of this, right? It was Florida State last week, and the comments from their board of trustees director and their president that kind of triggered all the movement that we saw take place from Tuesday through Friday, ending with the departure of 5 more schools from the Pac-12, bringing them down to 4. But on the flip side, Florida State's got something going on that's very interesting with their football team. Mike Norvell seems to have that team pointed in the right direction. Jordan Travis is a dark horse Heisman Trophy candidate. Johnny Wilson is on the Biletnikoff list. That team is stacked to have the best year they have had, arguably since they won the Natty back in 2013. And we've barely talked about it. So I tuned into Tallahassee Sports Talk Radio late in the afternoon. I was very curious to hear what they were talking about. And what did I hear? Now, granted, I was only there for 45 minutes, so that topic of conversation could have changed more often. But for just about the entire 45 minutes, I wasn't hearing about Jared Verse. I was hearing about conference expansion. I wasn't hearing about Jordan Travis. I was hearing about the cost of departing the ACC. I wasn't hearing about Johnny Wilson. I was hearing about whether or not the other conference schools actually supported Florida State, whether they were doing so publicly or privately, or if they were ready to separate from the Noles in this discussion. So it's not just me. These conversations are taking place literally in the towns where the schools we're talking about are watching guys get set to play football. Y'all, practices happened starting last Friday. Clemson and South Carolina started their preseason practices last Friday. We're 4 days deep. We've barely touched them.
Wait, they really did?
Yes.
I'm shocked.
We are officially in football season, kids. Preseason, but season nonetheless. Clemson and South Carolina started their practices. We have barely scratched the surface yet. Because this story is freaking enormous. I said that yesterday. I think last Friday, is going to go down as one of the most important dates in the history of this game. Good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, the landscape of college football has just changed dramatically and entirely. Here's the reality. I didn't spend that much time yesterday for the discussion to be solely about conference realignment because I really wanted it to. I spent that much time yesterday on conference realignment because I don't think we have a choice. I think we have to spend that much time on conference realignment because of the fact that it's not just the landscape is changing. It is that it is changing so dramatically and so rapidly. Look, anybody who knows me, anybody that's talked to me on the radio or off of it, knows I'm not afraid. Change is important. Progress, by default, requires change. But I'm also a fan of thoughtful change. I'm also a fan of strategic change. I'm also a fan of ensuring that when things do change, we have a pretty good grasp of what's changing, how it's changing, and why it is changing. And while there are a bunch of real smart people sitting in back rooms and hotel banquet halls around the country that are pulling the strings in all of this, that have run all of the numbers, that have run all of the legal strategies behind it. They ain't dummies, dude. And even if they were dummies, these people have 5 or 6 or 7 figures, some of them more, wrapped up in getting these decisions right. They're not intentionally trying to get them wrong, but they are happening very quickly, or at least on the outside looking in, they feel like they're happening quickly to people like us. So I'm doing one segment on this, right? Because the same texter who complained yesterday just sent a text. When you cover a topic to the point where you keep repeating yourself for 2+ hours, then it's too much. Tune in to see if you have moved on. Nope, I'll catch up with you in a few weeks when you're done yapping. Look, I understand that some of y'all are like, I just want to talk about football. And trust me, I respect that. And trust me, we're coming to that. Here's the show outline right here, right? The entire show is outlined for what we're getting to today. And there's a lot of football on it. There's Bryce Young and the Panthers. There's a recap of practice number 4 for the Gamecocks and the Tigers. We're coming to that later in the show. We're Brian Burns. I have become less confident that contract is moving forward the way I'd hoped it was. We're going to come to that later in the show. I got a lot of football to get to. But if you can't look at the way that these conferences are expanding, that the way that the landscape of college football is changing and changing ever so dramatically, I don't know what to tell you, right? Because this is huge, dude. This is big. We found out yesterday that the Atlantic Coast Conference is now having preliminary, early, and definitely not official talks about adding Stanford and Cal into the Atlantic Coast Conference. That's an enormous story. The Big Ten adding Oregon and Washington. It's not just enormous that Oregon and Washington are now Big Ten schools. It is about the landscape shifting, what those conference footprints look like, what conference coverages are going to look like, how all of this shapes up. And because of all of this, I do not think we have a choice but to talk about it. You might feel like, and I respect it, that you think I'm repeating myself. And yeah, I know that sometimes I have the habit of hitting a sentence, circling back around and saying it a different way a couple of seconds later. But when I do that, or at least I try to keep it this way, when I do that, it is because it's pretty damn important. College football looks today dramatically different than it did a week ago. It looks more dramatically different than it did 5 years ago. And the only thing I'm trying to point out is that while, yes, I want to get back to X's and O's, I want to get back to kick returns. I want to get back to run percentage v. pass percentage, pass protection schemes. I want to get back to all of that. Hell, I've still got 5-6 more interviews from ACC Media Days we haven't even scratched yet from Clemson opponents that I feel like we probably should get to at some point. But again, this story in 10 or 15 or 20 years, when Lonzo and I are hosting this show from the podcasting studio in whatever retirement home we can afford at that point.
You mean my retirement home? You ain't gonna be retired. I mean, come on.
When we're talking like this on the air, I think
you do realize in 15 years I'll be 70.
in a long, long time from now.
At least I hope so.
In a long, long time from now, my dudes, this is going to be a day that we are going to be talking about as a day that college football changed forever.
Is it wrong of me? I don't care. I just want to see my team play, and I don't care who they play because they're going to win. They're going to dominate because the season hasn't started yet, and we're undefeated.
I would say it is not wrong of you. Yes, I, for the record, also am very excited about football starting. Yes, we all just want to watch football. And this is why I've also told people, you got to calm down about this stuff because at the end of the day, and I'll tell you about a conversation I had with a buddy of mine who's an LSU fan later in the day. He said, look, it's the regionality and the rivalries that make college football so unique and so special, to which I said, yes, but here's the question. In 3 weeks, when college football gets started, are you going to turn on the TV and watch LSU play Florida State? And he went, yeah. And I went, then nothing matters. Why would they stop? They're not going to stop. In fact, if anything, LSU playing Florida State, even though the intrigue is that it's a non-region or a non-conference rivalry game, it shows you that when you put two really good football teams together, we're all going to watch no matter what. We're just all going to watch it. It doesn't matter what banners they play under. But at the same time, it is not just changing the banners and the stadiums these games get played in. It is changing the core foundation about how college football is funded, operated, and run. And if you don't think that's important, good for you. I'm glad that you can put that to your back of your mind and just enjoy football. But it is important, and it does impact how the sport works.
This is one of those cases a simple person such as me and a lot of people like me just go, yeah, but I just want to watch the game.
I get it.
You know.
I get it. For the record,
yeah, you're not gonna make me feel guilty about that. I just want to watch.
I'm not trying to. And again, I would also point out that this doesn't matter as much to you if you're in the Big Ten or the SEC. Y'all don't care. ACC school fans should care. Pac-12, Pac-4 fans should care.
Well, I get that. And if the ACC were to add some more teams, are any of them competition for Clemson? I don't know. If they're not, then why do you care?
All right, we're going to talk about that. Actually, I mean, we'll probably take a break from that for a little while.
Well, we definitely need to take a break. Yeah, that guy might go away for weeks, like he said.
I don't want him to leave. All right, so we'll get away from that. I got more stuff to talk about, although there is definitely conference expansion news that we have to talk about. at some point. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show is under radio. It's the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, give it just a minute. We'll be back. I got to do a live read. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Before we move on, do want to send our thoughts out to our buddy Kevin and his wife. Kevin joins us on the stream every single day. Wife going through some stuff, so we just wanted to send our thoughts out to you, my guy. Hope everything works out all right for you, and we will continue to be thinking about you, my man. So we wish you all both the best, and we are thinking about you, brother. All right, let's get some more stuff in here. As you heard, with immaculate timing there from my colleague, my partner in arms, my comrade, and of course, the other finalist for South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year, Offsides with Mark Ryan. Yesterday, the AP put out its coaches poll. The coaches poll came out yesterday, and there's some interesting spots on it, some interesting thoughts that I had. Same with Lonzo, apparently. This is not going to shock anybody, but the Georgia Bulldogs are ranked number 1 in the country. They were not consensus picks. They did get 61 first place votes. Alabama caught 4. Ohio State caught 1. Michigan did not get any first place votes, but they did get enough second and third place votes to bump them up to number 2. And that's a pretty good starting spot for old Harborough. Michigan number 2.
Shame he's not going to be there for the first few games.
4 games.
Yeah.
4 games.
So a few is only 3. When you get to 4, it becomes a lot, I guess.
You got a game, a couple games,
which is 2.
Which
and
is 2.
A few is 3.
A few is 3. And I think you did everything after 4 is multiple, right?
It's
multiple
lot,
games.
A lot. Yeah.
A
lot of games.
I think
Suspended a lot of games.
I think a lot is like
What, round 6?
Yeah, I think half the
Okay,
season
right.
is a lot.
Okay.
I think multiple is from 4 to half.
Yeah, but if you get to half, then you're saying half the season. You're not saying a lot. So there's somewhere in between 4. So a lot can only be 5.
No, I think I would be happy to say 6 is well
because then you
I
say
think
half
6,
the season.
you got to say half.
Yeah.
And more than 6, you either say more than half or multiple games.
Right. So it's got to be 5. 5 has to be a
Although
lot.
technically multiple technically applies to 2 or more. 2 or more is multiple.
It does, yes.
Anyway, Harborough's out 4 games, which is very convenient considering the first 4 games Michigan plays are all at home and all against Cupcakes. So that worked out pretty good for old Jim, didn't it? Anyway, the Wolverines check in at number 2. Alabama gets first place votes. They're at number 3. Ohio State caught 1. They check in at number 4. I don't have any issue with that. I think I'd have probably put Ohio State ahead of Alabama. I would have probably kept Michigan at 2. Consistency at quarterback really being the only thing that bumps there. Alabama, Michigan State, both teams that have questions about the quarterback position that are massive.
I was going to say, you meant Ohio State, not Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Obviously, I'm not mentioning Michigan State here. They wish.
Yeah.
So I got no problem with the top 4. Let's keep going. Number 5, LSU checks in at 5. I like Jaden Daniels a lot. And I like LSU a lot this season. I think LSU's got a chance to be very good. I'm not quite ready. I'm not quite ready to declare LSU as them.
I have to apologize because I keep dropping the ball and I still haven't got the family. So I just keep forgetting to get that. I don't know.
I should have. I mean, that's mine. I should have done that. Good old
because it is literally your family.
Family.
Yeah, I know.
There's a B in there for some reason. I'm not ready to say LSU is them. I think they're going to be good. But I'm not quite ready to say they're them. They got a lot of talent. Again, if Jaden Daniels has got an opportunity to take the Jordan Travis career path, right? We've talked a lot about Jordan Travis down at Florida State. I think Jaden Daniels is very similar. I think he's a guy that took a season to learn to hold up on slamming the panic button and taking off out of the pocket, right? I think he's a guy that it took a little while to learn. It's not, and take off running. Sometimes you can take that extra half a second, that extra second and a half to finish your reads. Don't panic. You're faster than them. Even if they get to within arm's length of you. You know you're gone in 3 steps.
Scooby-Doo interpretation.
Roll. You know you're gone. You know in 3 steps you have caused separation, that there is not a single defensive lineman in the Southeastern Conference that's catching up with you. Do not panic. And if you figured that out, Jaden Daniels could be very good. That being said,
Rob Brown Show, what do you want?
I don't know who else is there that I would bump up ahead of LSU.
Okay,
Now, LSU's interesting because obviously we've got that LSU Florida State matchup in week 1 on the 3rd of September that we've got to talk about. And there's going to be some separation in the top 10 right out of the gate. SC is interesting, right? You have got a legitimate Heisman Trophy threat and Caleb Heisman Trophy winner and threat to be the first guy since Archie to repeat.
Yeah, stop that. It's never happened again, ever.
I'm not so sure about that.
There have been other people who had a better shot than this guy to win a second one.
I do not agree with that. I think there have been a lot of guys who have had a very good chance to go to, but I would say there are some guys that have had as good of a chance, or that I should say, has as good of a chance as them to do it. I think he, under Lincoln Riley and with the wide receiver core that they've put together at SC, has a damn good shot at going back-to-back, especially if USC is as good as USC wants us to believe they are. I think he's got a very good chance of going back-to-back. Now, that being said, I think the good news, I think the bad news for SC in their final year is, do you know who in the Pac-12 is going to want to send them out with an L the last time they play each other? All of them. Not that SC already wasn't the Super Bowl for a lot of teams in this conference, but they damn sure are now. The schedule is not ridiculous for Cal, with the exception of a 3-game stretch down the road. I should say 4-game stretch to end it.
Does all this turmoil within the Pac-12, does this affect the players' mentality? Does this filter down? Does this mess with the coaches? Does this make them not play to, the standards they set for themselves because they're so worried about, oh man, this whole thing is crumbling. What are we playing for? We're going to be somewhere else next year. It's like when you're going to move, you just stop. You don't necessarily take care of stuff where you're at anymore.
I don't think so, because I think at the end of the day, and this is maybe me being idealistic, something I accuse you of being very frequently. I think players play, right? I think players play. And on top of that, if it is your last year in the conference, what better way to send yourself off than to do it with a conference championship, right? Like, what a final bird to the Pac-4 to walk away with their championship trophy, right? Not to bring it back to wrestling, but everything's wrestling. Remember the storyline of CM Punk leaving WWE? It wasn't that CM Punk was leaving, Alonzo. It was that what? He was going to leave as champion.
I refuse to talk about that guy.
That's fine. But that's what was appealing about that story. That it just was. That's what was appealing about that story.
So unoriginal. I'm going to pin an X on my belt. Wow.
I mean, that's his sign, Lonzo.
No.
It is. He said it. I heard him say it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He said, this is my symbol.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, I think you're going to
So you hate the X everywhere else, but you're okay if he does it.
No, I hate. Okay, I'm not doing this with you right now.
You took it there. I just went there with you.
So I think that it's not going to have that big of an impact because I think that these players absolutely and entirely want to bounce on their own with one last trophy.
You know, if it were impactful, no one would know because according to, the sound clip we played yesterday, the reason why they're leaving is for visibility. So no one's going to see it.
It's definitely not just about money.
No, it's for visibility. So no one's going to be watching that because no one stays up that late anymore.
Just me and a bunch of other lunatics. So USC checks in at number 6, right behind LSU. And I don't have a problem with that. I'll tell you one team I can't buy into yet. I can't buy into Penn State yet. It's like they're kind of one of those teams that like every year I get told this is it. They're back. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be fine. But I'm not putting them with USC and LSU yet. I think Penn State at 7's a bit high.
All right. So Penn State is Penn State and Wisconsin every 4 or 5 years have a pretty good team. And it's been a while. So that doesn't shock me.
Yeah, but I can't vote on that's what this looks like. Right? I can't vote that way. I will believe that they have accomplished that. I will believe that they are them when they prove it to me. FSU 8, Clemson 9. You better believe we're talking about that here in just a moment. But before we do, let's get a phone call, Lonzo. I am not connected to my software, so I need you to tell me who it is.
Let's talk to Jim, shall we?
Jim, welcome to the show, young man. How do you do?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, first of all polls are rat poison, and they prove themselves to be that every year. So we'll just move along and see what washes out at the end. But I want to talk about the realignment, drag you guys back into that slime pit again. I called what's been happening and what is going to happen about 3 years ago. I called in and said, within 2 to 3 years, we're going to have mega conferences and eventually one mega conference without the NCAA because those schools won't need them. They may stay aligned for the other sports, but they'll pull out in football, negotiate their own contracts because they'll have the power to do it. And we are seeing that literally take shape right now. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and everybody around is going, what is Notre Dame going to do? What is Notre Dame going to do? And they are going to do what they've always done, nothing, because they don't need to, because, again, with everything shaping out the way it is, they aren't going to need to do anything. They will slide into this super conference, mega conference, whatever you want to call it, and just keep riding right on down the road.
Yeah, it's funny to me. I laugh every time I hear another one of these talking heads come out and go, well, the next crown jewel's Notre Dame. And I wouldn't disagree. Notre Dame would be an absolute coup de grace for anybody that was able to land them. The thing is, NBC's contract with Notre Dame pays out effectively the money that they would get if they were in, as of today, any other conference. I will say this. Exactly. I do think there is a point if we continue, and you're right, I agree with you. I've been saying the same thing. If we do continue the march towards a mega conference, right, or even 2 mega conferences, there likely does come a point where a conference will begin to pay out to every individual school a quantity of money that is greater than what NBC gives to Notre Dame. And then Notre Dame just gets to be the next school that makes a decision of, do we care about tradition or do we care about money? And so far, money's undefeated in that fight, my guy.
That is absolutely correct. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. So a bunch of Notre Dame fans are freaking out thinking that we're going to get left out completely. Everybody will blackball us. And I just sit back laughing because everybody will actually, truthfully, wants Notre Dame.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Appreciate the phone call. Great call, bud. Thanks for checking in. You're spot on. No, Notre Dame's not getting left out. It'd be tomorrow or next year or next decade when Notre Dame finally says we're ready to join a conference because you guys are just paying more than NBC is willing to pay us alone. All the conferences are going to line up to grab them. Money does not lose. It is undefeated against tradition. We're back after this with more Coach Poll breakdown on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Yeah. I also would like to take a minute and talk about not LA Knight. I'd like to talk about The Miz, Lonzo, because have you watched Raw yet?
Yeah, I did.
That promo from The Miz showed why The Miz is one of the best to ever hold a microphone.
Agreed.
It was
I hate to walk
phenomenal.
out while you're doing it, but I really
No, go ahead.
It was good. It was good.
It was
What the Miz
phenomenal.
does is he puts everybody on.
Yep.
He does.
That guy's a first ballot HOFer. All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. Be right back. All right. Thanks for hanging on, dudes and dudettes. Wrestling. Yes. Wrestling's great. Spot on. Everything in that segment was good. It was a great promo from Miz. It was a great the fact that Miz was so good that he got LA Knight, a notoriously good promo, to have to reset in the middle of it shows you how damn good Mike is. And the fact that he can be a comedic heel and still cut that promo in that moment, that's incredible versatility. That guy's phenomenal. Yes, they could just come out and cut promos on each other all the way to WrestleMania, and I wouldn't miss a segment. That is a fact.
Yeah, but they can't do that because LA Knight's so old that if you wait that long, he might, get a little creaky.
I've been being me for 20 years. I was like, yes.
I don't know. I think the Miz is a little more scary when he's angry. Bob Backlund just looked like the kind of guy you make mad just so you can laugh at him because of the faces he makes. And the Miz's show really isn't that bad. I've watched it some.
I got no love for any reality show, but if you're going to force me to watch one, that'd be the one I watched.
Trey, there are some people, there are some entities, there are some inanimate objects that you as a person, me as a person, Rob as a person may look at and go, you know what? I just don't like that. And because it's popular, all of a sudden, well, what's wrong with you that you don't like? Well, I just don't like them. Okay. I don't. You know who I do like? I like Shayna Baszler. People don't like her. I love the Golden Gun Club. That's what it's called now, right? Golden Gun Club. I think the gun's in there with that, and I think that's so it's not just me only liking baby faces. I love a bunch of heel factions. I can't wait to see if they actually get it right with Bobby Lashley and the boys. Finally,
The boys.
Well, do they even use their name anymore? I mean, I don't know. But FTR to me has always been boring, and they're just boring. I don't think they're that good on the mic. I don't see what everyone else sees. No, man, we need 2 more. Got to make it even 20, right? It's 18 now. I lost count. Do need to change the name, though. Rob went quiet because he loves FTR. CMFTR. Get that crap out of here.
So FSU ranked 1 spot ahead of Clemson in the coaches poll that got released yesterday. FSU checking in 8, Clemson 9.
Them poor babies. You know, it's a shame that this means absolutely nothing. I hope it means something. I want FSU to be better than Clemson. I love it when the Clemson people are sad. I do. About football, not about life, but you know about football.
I listen. I told you guys 3 months ago that I think I'm not going to be one of those dudes who uses the words so-and-so is back because I think it gets played. And I don't.
We're back, baby. Yeah.
I don't know
Tennessee.
That FSU is back. Tennessee,
Miami.
Mississippi State, Miami, Wisconsin, Nebraska. You know, the same teams that chirp about their being back every single year.
You know what? When you're back, everyone will know you're back and you don't have to tell anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's how that works.
Yeah. My old man very frequently used to tell me, if you have to tell everybody you are something, you ain't something. And I kind of put them in the same boat. That being said, Florida State's on the radar for a lot of reasons.
So if I keep saying I am, well, never mind.
Good try. You were right there.
Yeah, I was on the edge of saying something that could
know.
have got me in trouble, and
I
then I changed my mind.
I know. I respect that. I do.
I could just say it and then dump it.
The stream would hear it. I'm not going to sit here and start telling you, oh, FSU's back. They're back to being a national powerhouse. What I am going to say is Clemson's grip on the throne is at risk this year. Florida State must be put down in week 4 if you want to keep being the unquestioned banner carrier of this conference, because this FSU team is going to be the biggest threat y'all have faced in a very long time.
Man, I hope so. I hope Florida State is back. I really do. It would make the ACC a little more interesting because right now it's just Clemson and nobody else.
Again, we're going to find out. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Hour number 2. Got some more football to break down, to talk about, to discuss. It's going to be wild, y'all. Don't go anywhere. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. Rob Alonzo and you. It's the Fan Upstate.
I quit. I just went Mitch McConnell. I'm out.
The brain just stopped. Yeah, we're coming to the Gamecocks later on.
Thought you were gonna say we're coming to your city. Dang, 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 yang, yang. Did you know that there are 2 preseason NFL football games on Thursday night?
I did, actually, which is why I'm doing nothing Thursday night.
Do you know that Hard Knocks actually debuts tonight, and I might actually watch it?
I'm going to watch it.
I don't even know what time it comes on. It's probably like 8 o'clock. I got to look at it.
Yeah, I got, what is it now? It's Max now?
Yes.
I got Max now. I can watch it whenever I want.
Well, if you're not going to talk about it tomorrow, I'm not going to watch it. Yeah, I'm still going to watch it tonight. I'm curious. Can I make it past 1 episode? I don't know. Will it hold my interest past 1 episode?
We're going abroad for the first time in history. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast. With Babbel, you can start having
The only episode I probably won't watch is when they start doing cuts. Man, I hate those episodes.
I don't know if it worked or not, but the Jets apparently asked the NFL not to show the cuts this year. They were like, please don't do that. Like, it's dehumanizing.
It is for sure. That's what I don't want to see.
Yeah.
To watch someone's dreams just be, the boss wants to see. I mean, I realize it's a part of the game, but I don't think we need to see that part. I don't want to play something because it's so bad, but if I skip it, then someone will know I skipped it because I don't like it. Nothing grates me more than poor production.
Staples presents a lesson in back-to-school savings. Your local Staples now accepts Amazon returns. So when you return your Amazon order at Staples, you receive a coupon.
In the end, guys, I mean, what are you talking about surpassing? I mean, there can be only one champion.
There can be only one.
Yeah, so
According to the report, Brooks' showing in the Grizzlies' first-round series was a quote breaking point, and the Grizz have said that they will not be bringing back Dylan Brooks.
oh, Teddy Bridgewater let his hair grow out. He looks like a totally different dude now. He just signed with the Lions, by the way.
Teddy B?
Yeah.
Walking out from the arena and wearing a big necklace that said DB for Dylan Brooks or
The Fan Upstate took ACC kickoff, and Dabo Sweetie shared one of the secrets to Clemson's success. We've not lost a single starter to the portal. For the past 2 years, we've had 2 kids leave.
All right, better do my job and turn it up.
Also set the bar. We had a great year last year, 11-3 ACC champion. I think there's a lot of teams that would love to have that portfolio, but our standard is a little bit higher than that at Clemson. Your front row seat for the best college football coverage all season. It's the Fan Upstate.
Listen on the Odyssey app. Search the Fan Upstate.
WORD's partner.
The official sports voice of the Upstate Fan.
And check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being weird.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Our numero to the Rob Brown Show goes now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, y'all. Good to have you. I am Rob. The great one, Lonzo, is on the other side of the metaphorical glass from us today.
Lonzo is a superstar.
Yes, indeed. Random person from the radio.
Lonzo is a superstar.
Woo! He's just having the time of his life over there, kids. Just the time of his life right now. I love it. I'm so happy for him. Alarm. So there's that.
I thought you gave me the nod to just keep going.
No, I most certainly didn't.
Toys are fun if you're given a toy, you should play with it. Don't put it up on a shelf.
Yeah, no,
So
for
play
sure.
with it. Have fun with it. It comes with a bunch of DLC.
Yeah, definitely.
Like every day.
No, for sure. Just,
Nope.
Yep. Just have
Nope.
have a ball with the alarm.
Yeehaw!
All right. We started taking a look at the coaches poll. We got you up through number 9. Georgia, Michigan, Alabama are your 1, 2, 3. Ohio State rounds out the top 4. LSU checks in at number 5. SC, that would be the Southern California version, at number 6. Penn State 7, and then Clemson and Florida State. But FSU has a leg up here at number 8. Clemson at number 9. Of course, Florida State will open their season on Sunday, September 3rd, when they, down in Orlando, Florida, take on the Tigers of LSU. Clemson will open up the next day on Monday, September 4th, when they are on the road up at Duke. Look, I get it. Here's what I would like to say to Clemson fans. I understand that you have been lulled by Lonzo into a false sense of security. I understand that you have been told it's just you and everybody else.
Yeah, prove me wrong.
It's just you, and then in a distant second is everybody else. And again, it has been that way for a while now. It has absolutely been you and then everybody else. But I would be real careful. Because while very frequently, I understand that false sense of security is not false. It's an actual sense of security. The coaches getting on board with FSU is not something that I take lightly, right? Like these media polls. When the media poll comes out this early, and we've already had like 4, we had a caller and then 2 or 3 or 4 texts that have been like, oh, these polls are worthless, they're pointless, well, look.
You know what the polls are? They're talking points. And that's it's great for talk radio, it's great for TV shows and things like that, but until they actually get on the field, this is speculation, it's a guess. It's an educated guess, frequently wrong, but every once in a while they're right.
The polls don't make predictions on who would win if 4 plays 6 or 1 plays 9. All the poll does is say, based on what we're looking at, based on roster construction, based on coaching, and based on past results, these are who we feel are the best teams in this order. I would also go one step further and say that I put a little bit more weight on the coaches poll than I do the media poll, right? Like, it's one thing when the media poll comes out and says, so-and-so 1, so-and-so 2, so-and-so 3, so-and-so 4. It is a different thing when coaches.
See, I'm not trying to kill this or anything, but how do the coaches know any more than anybody else? They're focused on their team, or they should be right now, and making their team better. How do they know that team 3 states away is really good?
Because they face these other teams 2 different ways. They not only have to face them on the field when it happens, but they also have to face them on a recruiting trail. They've got to know what they're recruiting against, the team build that they're recruiting against, the style they're recruiting against, because, hey, if I'm trying to recruit that 5-star tight end out of Texas that wants to be a pass-catching tight end, and he's getting recruited by school X, and I can go, hey, look, I know you're seriously considering X State University, but I can tell you that school only throws to the tight end 6% of their passing plays. They haven't had a tight end go over 300 yards of receiving in the last X amount of seasons. That ain't the school for you. These coaches know the schools they're up against intimately, right? If you go to a media day and you listen to coach of X State University get asked a question about Y State University, more often than not, those coaches can break down everything about that team. They know the quarterbacks. They know the defensive linemen. They know the schemes. They know this is a major part of the job, right? We had Dino Babers on when we were at ACC Media Days, head coach at Syracuse. We were talking with Dino, and I asked him the same question I asked everybody else. Hey, I think this conference is going to be the best it has been maybe ever this year. With that being said, how does it feel to A, be a part of that, and B, how do you feel knowing you have to compete in that environment? And Dino gave me a real interesting answer. He didn't go straight to Clemson and Florida State. He didn't go straight to the top. He started at the bottom. He said, yeah, look at the teams at the bottom. Look at the teams like Boston College. They bring in Phil Jerkovich to be their quarterback. Or, excuse me, lost Phil Jerkovich. They had to change this, and he knows the new starting quarterback, and he knows who's doing what and where. He goes into NC State. He knows Dave Duran very well. He knows their scheme. He knows what they look like. He goes to Pitt. That's where Jerkovich is now. He's like, hey, Pitt's a team that's really relied on the defense to carry them in some spots, but you roll from old baby hands himself. Now you roll up to Phil Jerkovich. This is a dude who came out, like he knew the history of where Jerkovich played and his numbers. He didn't just know him as the guy at BC. He knew what he looked like at Notre Dame. He knew what he looked like at Boston College before he got there. Like, he knows this guy and what he can do. These coaches ain't fools, man. And it's more common for the coaches at the top. You think Georgia's not got at least a little bit of an eye turned towards what Michigan's going to be doing start to finish? Of course they are. That's a team they could end up playing in the biggest game they'll play this year. You don't think Alabama's got thoughts on what Ryan Day's doing at Ohio State? Of course they are, because it's not just we might line against them in the 14 playoff at the end of the year. It's also we got to go recruit them. Bama and Ohio State are having recruiting battles every year. Every year. So they got to know that program inside and out. Who's playing there? Who's coaching there? What the setup looks like? What the system looks like? They got to know all that. I put more weight into the coaches poll than the media poll. Because I will tell you, as somebody who's done this for a very long time, if you go to ACC Media Day, a good chunk of the guys and gals that are broadcasting from ACC Media Day, they got a pretty good handle on the ACC. They got a pretty good handle on what's happening in the conference and players and coaches and comings and goings within the conference, for sure. But I will also tell you that a lot of them can't really talk a lot of college football outside of their conference, right? I mean, they'll know Georgia and Michigan and Bama and Ohio State. But if you ask them about Washington or Tennessee or Notre Dame, they're probably not going to have as much for you. The coaches absolutely do. The coaches absolutely do, because Notre Dame and Florida State, they know each other very well. LSU and Michigan, ranked number 2 and 5. There's a very good chance those two teams see each other by the end of the year. They're going to know each other. And all these schools, especially at the top of the list, they're all recruiting each other or trying to out-recruit each other. So I actually do put stock into the coaches poll. I don't put as much stock into the media poll. I absolutely do put stock into the coaches poll. And that is why, circling back to where this started, that is why I have said, scratch that. I know that Clemson fans have been lulled into a false sense of security. How do I know that? Because I've been telling you guys since back in March, back in February, But I think Clemson's going to have a big job on their hands this year because I think Florida State is going to be good this year. I'm not ready to say they're going to be great. I don't know. We're going to learn a lot about FSU in week number 1 when they take on LSU. But I think they're going to be good this year. And if Florida State gets that win over LSU, all of a sudden that week 4 game in Death Valley, just down the road from here, all of a sudden that looks a hell of a lot more interesting, doesn't it? Because now that's somebody's potentially losing a playoff berth over this game. Hell, even if Florida State loses to LSU, it's interesting, right? Because you can get into the college football playoff with a single loss. You can't get in with 2. If Florida State loses to LSU week 1, they got to be perfect the rest of the ride. That's even more pressure. Because, hey, if they lose to Clemson in week 4, guess what Florida State can do? They can run the rest of the table. If they beat LSU and they lose to Clemson, they can run the rest of the table, get a berth to the ACC championship, play Clemson a second time. They beat them in that one. They're probably in the playoffs, right? So there's a lot of pressure there. But it's not just them. It's some of the other schools that we have talked about. It's North Carolina down there at 20. It's South Carolina, who checked in at 27, hilariously behind Iowa. It is Pitt, ranked at 29. It's NC State, ranked at 31. It's Miami, ranked at 35. Again, those numbers don't sound wildly impressive because they're not in the top 25. We're not conditioned to hear them as being impressive, right? But these are all teams on the schedule. These are all teams that are either on the regular season schedule or could show up in the ACC championship game against the Tigers. The point that I'm saying here is this. If Dabo and his football program, and I don't think they have for the record, but if Dabo and the football program have the same level of apathy that I am getting from Clemson fans about this year, there's some trap games in there that suddenly scare me. There's some good games like Florida State. There's some trap games like Syracuse. There's some rivalry games like South Carolina. We've gone up and down this schedule multiple times. We don't need to do it again. I've told you the games that I am concerned about. Florida State on Saturday, September 23rd at home, and then immediately the next week at the JMA Wireless Dome in Syracuse, New York on September 30th against Syracuse. Those 2 games scare me. And to some degree, Wake Forest the week after that, though a little bit less so. I am concerned about the 3-game stretch of Miami, NC State on the road, and Notre Dame. That's a tough 3. And coming off the bye. And then I'm concerned about the back-to-backers between UNC and South Carolina to end the year. 3 different spots I'm very worried about on Clemson's schedule. And the point is, now more than ever, all of those teams starting this year, according to the coaches, a little bit better than they have in years past. If Clemson's program brings in the same level of apathy towards this season that I seem to be getting from Clemson fans this year, there are 2, 3, as many as 4 games on that schedule that could sneak up on you. There are 2 right now, 2, Lonzo, I would say 2, that are not definitely, but are absolutely losable games. Florida State is a losable game. South Carolina is a losable game. I think Florida State's going to be better than South Carolina. I do. But I think South Carolina, being the rivalry and being at Willie B, makes it absolutely a losable game, even though Clemson curb stomped the Gamecocks the last time they were over there.
So you're not gonna throw Notre Dame in there.
I think Notre Dame is a losable game. I don't think it has the intensity that the Florida State game does. I will start with this. I really want to see the difference here between Travis and Sam Hartman at Florida or at Notre Dame, pardon me, is that I have not seen Sam Hartman play at Notre Dame. I've seen what he did at Wake Forest, and he looked pretty good. I just don't know what he's going to look like in a new system under Marcus Freeman, who's a little bit more of a defensive-minded guy. I don't know that I lean into Sam Hartman the way that I'm leaning into Jordan Travis right now. So I will let's say it is 3 losable games. 3 losable games to 2 top 15 teams and a team that in South Carolina checked in at 27. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, so I was going to do a whole different segment on this, but I might as well spoiler alert it now. Lonzo, if I asked you right now, despite the success last season, South Carolina versus Tulane, who you taking in that one? Because I'm going Cox by 30.
South Carolina?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
South Carolina v. the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Who you taking in that one?
South Carolina.
Yep. Hell, I'm going to tell you right now, South Carolina v. Texas A&M, give me the Gamecocks. Jimbo Fisher has been a wild disappointment for the amount of money they're playing him. And then South Carolina v. Iowa, all due respect to the big guy down the hall, I'm taking the Gamecocks there too.
And the guy downstairs. Don't forget that one.
For the record, you want to know how you know Rob Brown don't pull no punches? Both the guys that sign my paycheck are Hawkeyes. Both of them. And I'm sitting here telling the Gamecocks would wipe them by 14. All right? South Carolina should be ranked 23 in this list. I honestly could say 22 because I might be willing to put them above Ole Miss. Lonzo, I'm probably willing to put them above Wisconsin, and that's about the line. I'd say the highest I could go is 21. But I absolutely think they deserve to be inside the top 25. I would say somewhere between 21 and 24 is where I'd have South Carolina. That means Clemson has 3 games this year against top 25 teams. The highest ranked team, a team that checks in ahead of them in the coaches poll, is at their house. So is the Notre Dame game, but they got to go to Willoughby. Oh, and by the way, Syracuse is waiting out there to make history. NC State is out there. You know NC State treats Florida State and Clemson like their Super Bowl. If Dabo's kids, and I don't think they will, again, I've had conversations with Cade, had a conversation with Will Putnam. I've had conversation with multiple players at Media Day. Had a conversation with Dabo. I don't get the impression that this is the case. But I also know that any time that a player or a coach gets in front of a microphone to talk to a dork like me, they know what the show is. They know how to put on the show, right? They know how to put on the show to say what needs to be said and say it the right way, for sure. If they approach this season with the same level of apathy that the fans are, assuming that winning the ACC is their birthright, there's 3 games right there that are all losable, and there's 2 more trap games in Syracuse and NC State I'm worried about. That's 5 games on that schedule. 3 that are losable because the other team can beat you. 2 more that if they catch you on the right day under the right circumstances, they can get you. There should be apprehension. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Give you some thoughts on where South Carolina is. We got to get into that later on in the show. Another thing I wanted to get through. By the way, Texter, you got your wish. We're doing college football in this segment. Scheduling superlatives for college football this year. Teams that are going to be in it at the end or knocked out of it just because of the way their schedule is set up. Clemson on the receiving end of this ain't that easy. I'm going to give you a couple of teams that might cakewalk their way to a playoff berth. And we'll do that next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I didn't do it to JR.
Dude, are you, I
didn't do
you're
it.
not concerned?
I didn't do it. I wasn't sick.
No, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about him
Oh.
passing something. I mean,
I didn't even think about that.
yeah, that's what I was talking. You shook his head. Okay, well, I mean, you know. I got to step away for a moment.
you know, we're a young team. You know, we got new coaching staff, new systems. So, you know, I would anticipate seeing them out there.
I'm Dave Schraub of the Carolina Panthers Radio Network, presented by Morris Jenkins.
When Gilbert is on the mound, and few teams in baseball.
Interesting for BetQL. U.S. women's soccer team is now out, and now the World Cup is wide open. The defending champs gone, the new betting favorite is now England. But here's who I like. Whoever wins the quarters between Sweden and Japan. Both teams are in form and have the better odds. Sweden went from plus 1,600 to plus 1,200 with their win over the U.S., and Japan is currently the third favorite to win at plus 450. I'm Tristan Crick, helping you beat the books and bet smarter with BetQL. Download the BetMGM app today.
Oh, you're all good, Skrilla.
We're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail.
Don't at me, bro. I shan't at you, bro.
Because you know the tiniest thing.
But you're good, man. Real life gets in the way sometimes. Trust me, I know.
So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, it's Gary David with Travis Benson, the owner of CNT Foundations. Travis, a sinking foundation can give a homeowner a sinking feeling. How can you help?
At CNT Foundations, we are your foundation experts, not expert salespeople. As general contractors, we offer lifetime solutions and real peace of mind.
Call 864-581-3341. CNT Foundations, your foundation experts.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more straight talk. Let's take a moment to appreciate our sweet children, loving grandparents, and eternal soulmates. Now let's use them to save money on wireless. Because with the Straight Talk Silver Plan, you get 4 lines for just $25 a month with unlimited data and no contract. So add those human bonds, loved ones, and save money. Thanks, kids. It's finally worth it. Straight Talk Wireless, available.
Keegan and coming in hot.
Furman Fan Fest 2023 is set for August 19th. August 19th, beginning at 2 p.m. on campus. Don't miss it.
Sponsored by Jeff Martin Auctioneers. Don't miss the Jeff Martin Auctioneers Automobile Auction in Pelzer on Saturday, August 12th, featuring vehicles, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more. Bid your way live on-site or online at jeffmartinauctioneers.com. Experience the difference. License 4283.
Mark Ryan tells it like it is.
Coming up on a Super Tuesday episode of Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel, the first coaches poll of 2023 was reviewed. We'll have our big takeaways, including why weren't the Gamecocks included. We've got our ACC and SEC preview series.
That's because the Cowboys are back, baby. Just ask them; they'll tell you.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a fan.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. You are you, and you are welcome to be a part of the radio broadcast. As always, the phone line remains on at 844-326-3663. The CarPros.com text line is right there at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. Text line quiet today, ladies and gentlemen. We are looking for you. Hit us up, 71307. Start your text with FAN. Let's talk a little bit about some different schedules and teams that could be up or down based on them. I think this is one aspect of college football that very frequently gets overlooked. We don't talk all that much, not just about the opponents, but the runs that teams have to go on, right? I mentioned to you guys a couple of times, if there is a fear for me for Clemson, that fear for me is those 3 stretches of games that we talked about. Florida State back by Syracuse, coming off the bye against Miami, NC State, Notre Dame, and then wrapping up the year with North Carolina and South Carolina back-to-back before, and by the way, leading into the ACC championship. With the Gamecocks, the 3-game against Georgia, Mississippi State, and then at Tennessee concerns me. Coming off Florida, Mizzou, and A&M back-to-back-to-back. Florida's at home, and then Mizzou and A&M both on the road. That scares me. All 3 of those games are teams that South Carolina should beat. But the problem the last couple of years for South Carolina has been the teams they should beat. Now they've got to go back to back to back against the 3 teams that have been the problem. And then Kentucky the week before Clemson concerns me a little bit. Not because I'm all that afraid of Kentucky. Honestly, with all due respect, I'm not. I'm not worried about Kentucky this year. Everybody else seems to be. I'm not. But because of what that rivalry has turned into, climate change v. culture change.
I don't know. It's a rivalry yet.
I think it's a coaching rivalry.
Yeah, well, we can definitely say that.
Yeah, Stoops v. Beamer has been heated up. It's not so much that game that concerns me. It's that game, Lonzo, right before Clemson, because that game's going to be physical.
Stoops hasn't doubled down, though. He hasn't said anything else like that, right?
How would he? He got his ass kicked.
Right. He hasn't said anything else. So
I didn't hear no bell. I thought this was America. Anyway, let's talk about some other teams in and around the world of college football that could have themselves impacted by their schedule. Let's start with a team that is near and dear to my colleague's heart. How about the Florida Gators this year? Florida might have the toughest schedule in football.
I keep saying colleague, and I think he's talking about that dude. I mean, you're actually going to talk about Florida?
Just a minute.
Okay.
For just a minute.
All right. Yeah, every game going to be a struggle for Florida.
I mean, you start with the fact that it's not going quite the way Billy Napier.
Never mind. I'm glad you're talking about Florida.
Say this, the recruiting's pretty good for Florida, but not a great look this year. They open up at Utah. Utah's a top 15 team this year. Utah's going to be pretty good. They come back home for McNeese. Then they got Tennessee. Week 3. Florida could be 1-2 to open the year. They got Charlotte coming down the year after that, the 49ers. Then they're at Kentucky. Again, a team that I'm not super concerned about for South Carolina, but I think South Carolina is better than Florida this year. Then they got Vanderbilt at home, and then they come here October 14th to take on the Gamecocks at Willie B. South Carolina probably should be favored in that game. Not by a lot, probably 5.5, but they probably should be favored in that game. Then Florida's got Georgia in the butthole of America, Jacksonville, Florida. Then they got Arkansas. That's not an easy game, even at home. Razorbacks are going to be flying. Then they're at LSU, back home for Mizzou. And keep in mind, Mizzou's trying to prove something this year. And then they're back home for Florida State. That's not a fun schedule for Florida. You got the 2-time defending Pac-12 champions to open. You've got the potential, underlined, bold, italicized, potential ACC threat in Florida State to end the year. In between, you've got trips to Kentucky, to South Carolina, to LSU. You got number 11 Tennessee at home. You got the neutral site at Jacksonville. You got LSU. It's just that's a rough schedule. They have 6 preseason top 25 opponents, 4 of them inside the top 15. They're not alone. There's another team that's ranked inside the top 25 that's got a similarly difficult schedule, and that's the Ole Miss Running Rebels. Ole Miss has got Mercer out the gate. Then they got to go to Tulane. Now, Tulane is riding the high of what they did last year, including knocking off USC, the Southern Cal version, in the bowl game. But they're at Tulane. Tulane's only going to put about 40,000 into the seats, but those 40,000 are going to sound like 70 because it's been probably, 50 years since Tulane was a national powerhouse? They used to be. Then they're back home against Georgia Tech. Again, I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you that Georgia Tech's going to be competing for the ACC, but I do find this team very interesting. They have bought into Brent Key as a guy. There's an intensity with that football program that I'm excited to watch. Then they got to go to Alabama, back home for LSU and Arkansas, at Auburn, and then they wrap it up with A&M, Georgia, UL Monroe, and at Mississippi State. And again, I'm not sold on Mississippi State. I don't love Mississippi State. I'm tired of hearing Mississippi State is back every year. But Stark Vegas is a real tough place to play. Clanger, 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 clanger. It's very annoying. Ole Miss, a top 25 team that I think is probably staring down the barrel of a 7-win season at best. Maybe 6-6. You know, we've talked about ACC teams, right? I mentioned a couple of times, I think this is the best the ACC is going to look like. When we were over at ACC Media Days, I looked at Boston College's 2023 football schedule. Boston College is probably going to be a fan of what they're looking out in front of them in 2023. Boston College is catching NIU and Holy Cross out of the gate. They get Florida State in week 3, but that's at home. Then they got to go to Louisville. They got back home for Virginia. They go to Army. They're at Georgia Tech. Then they get UConn, Syracuse, Virginia Tech back to back to back. They're at Pitt. They're back home for Miami. Now, this on paper today, based on the coaches' poll rankings, is really not all that bad. They got FSU as the only ranked team on the schedule right now. But it could get worse. If Pitt behind the aforementioned Phil Jerkovich is better, Pitt could be a danger on the road. Again, Miami fans swear to me every year they're back. I got told this year Mario Cristobal was infuriated that his team gave up last year. He has rebuilt the mentality of this team. We'll find out if that's true or not. I don't believe it, but we'll see. At Syracuse, the Orange are dangerous at home. No matter how bad they are, they love to defend that dome. That being said, Boston College is set up pretty nicely overall. BC faces one preseason top 25 team. How about another team that caught an easy schedule this year? They didn't need the help, Lonzo. How about the Georgia Bulldogs and the schedule they're lined up against? They play 3 top 25 teams, but the preseason top 25 teams they play are Kentucky at home, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago we looked at this. There's one game on the schedule that scares me for the Georgia Bulldogs. It's Tennessee on the road. If that game was at Georgia, I would not be worried about this at all, honestly. If this game was at Georgia, I wouldn't be worried about it. But at Tennessee, Neyland Stadium, unless Tennessee has imploded by that point in the season, that's a tough place to go play football. If Tennessee has imploded at that point, if Joe Milton, a career backup, just ain't the dude, then it gets a little easier for Georgia. Could Tennessee implode by then? Well, let's keep an eye on the games that are interesting. I think they're fine against Florida on the road. South Carolina at Tennessee. I think Tennessee's the better football program right now. I think they're a better team. Now, South Carolina did dump a 60 spot on them last year. Could they turn around and do the same thing this year? Shane clearly figured something out last year. Does the benefit of hindsight being 2020 help Tennessee? I don't know. But even if they lose that game, they're better than A&M. They're at Alabama. They're at Kentucky, which is, again, not a threat, except for it's the week after Alabama. Tennessee could be a 2-loss, maybe a 3-loss team by the time they play Georgia, which to me makes Georgia's life a lot easier. And then they're at Bobby Dodd in Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech. Georgia got blessed by the college football gods going for the three-piece with the schedule that was assigned to them this year. It's not all that difficult, man. It's really not. How about Pitt? I've talked about Pitt a number of times. Pitt ended up with a schedule that is, again, not easy at all, right? Wofford out the gate, Cincinnati, at West Virginia. Then they've got North Carolina and Virginia Tech back-to-back. Again, Virginia Tech, one of those trap games at Blacksburg. You're putting all your energy, all your focus into knocking off a top 25 North Carolina team. If you sleep on VT at home, they'll snipe you. They're at Wake, at Notre Dame, Florida State, Syracuse, back-to-back. That's not fun either. We mentioned this team earlier. Not just today, but we've talked about them a couple of times, and a part of it is because of this schedule, Alonzo. The Michigan Wolverines were gifted 4-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh. What are the 4 games that he's going to miss? 4 home games against ECU, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers. Lonzo, if Jim Harbaugh is going to miss 4 games, that's a decent starting 4 to sit out against.
This is your time to shine, Rutgers. I know you hear me. This is your time to shine. Step it up.
I wouldn't sleep on ECU either, right? Remember, ECU gave South Carolina all they wanted and then some not too long ago. I wouldn't sleep on the Pirates. That being said, Michigan's going to go 4-0. After that, they're at Nebraska. Even if Matt Rule is the guy, even if it is going to be proven that he's just a college dude and he's a good college coach, it's his first year. It's not his boys. If you're going to play at Nebraska, this is the year to do it. At Minnesota, back home for Indiana, on the road at Michigan State. Obviously, that's a rivalry game, but it's a second-tier rivalry game for the Wolverines.
They should also worry about Indiana because they're just weird. I mean, they play some teams tougher than others.
I don't disagree, but this is in Ann Arbor. It's at home. It's in front of the Maize and Blue. I'm not super worried about it. They got Purdue and then at Penn State. The last 3 games are the only 3 that I'm worried about. At Penn State, Maryland, which I'm not worried about, but it is at Maryland. And it's when the only reason I'm let me finish. The only reason I'm concerned about Maryland, Lonzo, is it is wedged between at Penn State and back home for Ohio State. Maryland's in the middle.
All right, I get that, but that hard to play in that stadium in Maryland.
Oh, listen, for sure, Michigan by 35. But if you get all that focus on Penn State and you know the game is 2 weeks later, I don't know, Talia Tungavailoa got offered $1.5 million to go play the SEC.
Yeah, allegedly. I believe it. Rob doesn't.
I don't disbelieve it. I just don't have a reason to actively believe it. Point is, look out for that. Look out for that. Other than that, Michigan's schedule, real easy, man. Real easy. What about a team that could build some momentum? I have said like 4 times in this segment already, I'm not concerned about them. I don't think they're them. But outside of Michigan, if you are looking for a team that can build a little momentum out of the gate, right? If momentum is indeed the name of the game, what about Kentucky? Kentucky starts at home against Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, and Akron before they travel to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt.
Watch out for them Zips, man.
Watch out for the Zips, baby. I'm not worried about the Zips. Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, at Vandy, and then they get Florida. That is 4 weeks. It's 3 weeks to tune up, 1 week to perfect, 1 week to challenge yourself against Florida, and then you got Georgia. Now, the back half, I don't love for Kentucky. At Georgia, back home for Mizzou, Tennessee, on the road at Davis Wade for Mississippi State, then Alabama, then South Carolina. They catch a reprieve to end the year in a rivalry game against Louisville. Kentucky is not going to win 10 games this year, but they might have the best set up schedule in favor of their ability to find themselves early, to build that momentum, to get some steam rolling before they really do hit the stride. So anyway, there's some thoughts. There's some of the schedules that jump out at me. There's some of the schedules that really kind of stood out for toughest and easiest to start the year. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll put a bow on hour number 2. We have avoided it for the most part, but we absolutely do have to put into play a little bit more conference expansion news. It's just that important. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
The Pirates beat the Braves 7-6 on Monday. Pirates rookie infielder Leo Pagero had 2 hits in a 6-run third. Pittsburgh able to chase Spencer Strider early before holding off Atlanta for a rain-delayed win. Connor Joe hit a home run in the fourth, helping the fourth-place Pirates hand the major league leading Braves.
You ever played a video game where you could kill a companion? I mean, on purpose, not accidentally.
Can't you do it in Skyrim?
Yeah, accidentally you can.
I thought you could just smoke them.
Yeah, well, I guess you can. I forgot about that. Maybe it's because I always play with mods that make them you can't kill them.
I think the only one that I did was Elf Archer Boy. The one that's like, hey, can you sneak this fake note to that girl to make her fall out of love with the guy that's treating her right and date me instead? And I was like, you're a coward.
So
that was my first playthrough. And that was before I learned that you could hire him as a follower, pay him to train you in archery, and then take your money back.
So Baldur's Gate 3 last night I'm playing, you go to your camp. So you think you're safe in your camp.
Yep.
And again, it's straight up D&D and all that stuff in your camp. And you're awakened because you sense something's not right.
Roll for perception.
No. Dude's a vampire. You didn't know one of your companions is a vampire. So then you have the option of going, oh, it's cool. It's all right. I understand your hunger. Or picking up a steak out of the fire and staking them. Guess which one I did?
You went steak.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and the rest of the companions, thank you.
Oh, really?
Because think about it. There's a vampire in the camp. They're like, thank you.
I guess I would too.
I know, Brandon. Good luck, man.
Don't be afraid to try both. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you need help.
Talk saves lives. For more mental health conversations.
I guess there are more games like that than I knew. I didn't know you could do that in Sims. I've never played Sims before because, I live real life. I just don't want to. Now, if they had medieval Sims, they already do. It's Skyrim and games like that. This is definitely one of those games where they give you a lot of choices and it's going to factor in later and you're going to find out that something you did like 30 hours before just messed a bunch of stuff up. I don't care if you're a valuable member of the party. If you try to bite me while I'm resting in camp and I find out you're a vampire, you get staked. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Absolutely, Thomas. I cannot wait for it. Hopefully, won't have the disappointment like a lot of people did with Fallout 76, but they ended up making that better over the years. But Starfield is, yeah, cannot wait for that. I'm not a guy who takes a day off because a big game comes out, but if I were that guy, I'd probably do it for that game. I don't know what that is, Keegan. Can't take my nerd card because we don't have cards. What we do have is a host who's not back in the room. Yo, man, what you doing?
What am I doing?
Because I had to add stuff because you were like gone.
Oh, I thought I had plenty of time.
So no. That is a good thing, Brandon. It's a great thing, actually. Yeah, it's a Batman on a ship, Kevin. It actually looks fairly interesting. It's the meter, I think.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on, wrapping up our numero dos here on the show. If you want to be a part of the program, now's a wonderful opportunity to do it. Coming up at the start of the next hour, we are going to hand out, it's only August. It's a little early to hand out 2023 awards, but we are going to hand out the award for the softest professional team in America.
Oh, the SAWFT awards.
That's exactly right. We're going to hand out a softie coming up in the next hour. Before we get there, though, let me get. I'll save the Bryce Young stuff. We'll do some Carolina Panther stuff in the next hour of the show because BY is getting the nod, and Adam Thielen had some very nice things to say about Bryce Young back on the Pat McAfee
Yeah, I
show.
can't wait till we talk about it because I'm starting to get some concerns
about
too much praise. Doesn't that make you just a little nervous? I'm a little nervous about that.
I like that thought. I like that take. We're going to talk about that coming up in a little while as well. Before we get there, though, how about this real quick? I'll bring this up just for Alonzo's entertainment. The Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians played a game a couple of days ago, and there was a bit of dust up in that game. Cleveland Guardians third baseman Jose Ramirez slid into second base when Chicago White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson tried to lay down a tag. It got a little heated. Got a little heated. In fact, Lonzo, I'll tell you what. I have the audio. Why don't you will you give me the sound for just a minute? Do you mind? Because it's worth a listen.
Here it comes.
That's a legitimate on-the-air play call from Cleveland radio of down goes Anderson! Down goes Anderson!
Come on, my dude's been hearing down goes Frazier, down goes all his life, and someday, I know I'm there for it. By the way, that was a sneaky punch, and that's why you don't look away from your. When you see someone get tapped like that and you think, how could that knock that guy down? Whether it's boxing, UFC, whatever, but you hit a guy just right, down they go.
Two things. Number one, every one of us has heard, down goes Frazier, about 1 million times. And I got to tell you, I don't think I'd have called that any different. I think I'd have said the exact same thing. I've called a lot of games in my life. I've never called a fight. Okay, never called a fight. I think I would do the exact same call, the exact same walk.
I don't. I know what I would do, and I think that you would have some problems because I would be, as God is my witness, he's been broken in half. I mean, I think you can do that with a punch.
I don't think you can. I think down goes is the right call there. Either way, my dude saw his opportunity and he took it. Here's my favorite part about this. After the fight was over, Ramirez caught a 3-game suspension. Tim Anderson, who got lights outed. All right. Tim Anderson. By the way, I like Tim Anderson. I like him. He's fun. He's a fun player. Baseball needs more fun players. He is also the one that gave our Bet for the Cycle Saturday show producer Mario his nickname of Hating Ass Mario. That's why we call him that, because of Tim Anderson. Mario lost a bet last year because of Tim Anderson. He sent out a tweet the next day that said, "Good morning to everyone except Tim Anderson." And Tim Anderson quote tweeted him and said, "Shut your hating ass up." So he became Hating Ass Mario. But Tim Anderson got popped on the button and went night-night. There's a video that started circulating of Tim Anderson having to be helped off the field by his teammates because the knees were wobbly, Jack. He was done. Anyway, Tim Anderson got KO'd by Ramirez, who caught a 3-game suspension. And Tim Anderson, Lonzo, for the pleasure of getting KO'd and put night-night on the field, caught a 6-game suspension. The dude who got rocked to bed after getting poked in the face by Ramirez caught twice the suspension length. Down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson. And down goes hour number 2 of the show. When we come back, we've got a lot more to get into, including some Panther talk and more on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
All right, Keegan, I looked it up. That does look interesting. I bet Rob would like it too. Have you looked up WrestleQuest?
I talked about it yesterday. I was like, WrestleQuest drops to tomorrow. I can't wait. I've been waiting for this.
I must have missed it when you said that.
Yeah, we were sitting in there. I was like, oh, WrestleQuest drops tomorrow. I've been waiting on WrestleQuest. Yes, he is in it, but they call him. So it's got representations of real wrestlers. I think they call him Brochacho Man in this one.
We should check out our guy downstairs and see if he's got any new wrestling games. Because you never know.
It is
because we're radio people. We don't ever have to pay for anything. That's how it works.
It is a fantasy RPG based on pro wrestlers. You best believe
so it's
they announced it.
It's your D&D character. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Amy Lawrence. Be sure to listen to CBS Sports Radio at home. Just ask Alexa.
Kevin, you gotta let that go, man. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl, dude. I mean, I get why you don't like them, but they won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, if they don't win it this year and your Bills win it this year, then you can say all that stuff. But, until then, I mean, Reminds me, I didn't get any new Super Bowl gear this year from that. I should pick that up. I still got some from the last time they won. And you know what? The Bills didn't win that year either. I don't know if you knew that.
For free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Mad World Haunted Attraction is back.
I'm really dreading Saturday. Not the part that I'm dreading that I'm not going to be on a certain show.
I can't wait to listen to it.
I am very worried about that.
The Pappy and Odie show.
Dude, I am really, really worried about that.
They're going to be fun. They've learned from the best.
Yeah,
Me.
right. I'm not worried about Odie.
Powerbomb and pile drive your way through a massive pixel art universe where professional wrestling and RPG fantasy collide. Wrestle with destiny. Take a hero's journey in tights. Upgrade from aspiring rookie to world champion by training, learning, glamming, and slamming to the top of the pro wrestling food chain.
Glamming. Yeah.
Your idols await. Draw inspiration from wrestling icons like Jake the Snake Roberts, Macho Man, Randy Savage, and even Andre the Giant. Explore entire worlds based on their lofty careers. With heart-pounding action, classic RPG combat meets wrestling moves, match styles, and gimmicks galore. And my favorite sentence. Good guys, bad guys, lizards, robots, and more.
Oh, wow. Lizards and robots. Yes, Steven, don't nobody believe you.
Choose your move, style, taunts, and even your entrance as you learn what it takes to be the cream of the crop in the pro wrestling world of your dreams. I'm all in, dudes.
Just wondering if they had to pay certain people for their name, image, and, well, not their name, but their image for sure, and their likeness. Brandon, to answer your question, I'll be going to Columbia along with Rob and many of my friends to collect some hardware at Star Awards, and I won't be on my show. It's always scary when I'm not on my show. It's only happened like 3 or 4 times. So sure, everything will be fine, but it's like when you leave your teenage kids at home for the first time alone, like overnight, because you're going somewhere. The Beastie Boys video for Fight for Your Right comes to mind. I hope no bad people show up. Do you know what a video is, Rob? I don't know if you know what that is. I don't know
I've
if
heard
you've
of it before.
seen it. Have you seen that video? It's nostalgic now. It's probably like it's like 30 years old, but it is really like 30 years old. It's on the schedule, Brandon. It's on the schedule.
Sorry, I know that you were talking to me, but
No, it wasn't. No,
people I work for.
actually, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I feel better.
You're unimportant. I'm talking to people I work for.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what you just said.
Are you signing my paycheck next Friday, Alonzo?
You'll know, maybe.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show.
Hey,
goes
man.
down, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate.
Why you want to come to people like that?
I'm not.
I mean, you bring all that aggression over this way.
No aggression.
I think everybody saw it on Facebook, YouTube, X, and whatever one I'm forgetting.
No, what had happened was Lonzo was talking, and I acknowledge that I do have a habit of what the Madre used to call selective hearing, except for I was texting a member of the administrative staff during that segment, and I was looking at Lonzo, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I know you were talking to me, but I was sending a text to someone that I work for. And Lonzo was
wait.
"Oh."
Does that member of the staff not realize that you're doing a live show right now? Do they not realize that?
No, I think they know that I'm more than talented.
I think you come back with
aspects of my job
on the air. Wait an hour. I mean,
Hey, man, I just handle business.
Hopefully, I won't receive a text here in a minute saying to shut up and stop by the office later.
I'm just out here handling business. That's what we do. We handle business here on the show. Speaking of,
came at me. You guys saw it right.
Sensitive.
Now, I'm going to HR. I don't know who they are. I'm just going to go down the hall and go, who's HR?
Is there an HR here?
Who? Yeah.
I'm going to play. You're going to play. Somebody's going to play.
Stop picking at that, man.
I got like,
yeah. Because someone who sits on this side, later on, if they noticed, I'm not so sure.
Clip number 1. This is the voice of Kevin Brown No relation. Kevin Brown is the play-by-play announcer for the Baltimore Orioles. He also serves as a play-by-play guy across several ESPN platforms and others. Kevin Brown is a young cat. He is younger than me in calling MLB baseball. No, I'm doing everything great. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Kevin Brown.
Lots of people younger than you now.
I know it sucks, dude. It sucks so bad, bro. So bad.
Almost everybody I work with are the age of my children.
Kevin Brown was setting up for a game between the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, this was a massive series in the American League. Why? Because those are the number 1 and number 2 teams in the American League East right now. Those 2 teams have a total of 3 games separating them in the American League East. And it is interesting because those 3 teams are setting up, or were setting up at the time. Those 3 teams were setting up to play a short series. Well, Kevin Brown was talking about the Orioles playing at the Trop, which is a crappy baseball stadium. And Kevin Brown decided to talk about the recent history of the Baltimore Orioles in that series and at that venue. And he said this.
For the Orioles, Brandon Hyde has felt like this has been maybe the toughest ballpark to play in, but the Orioles have a chance to do something special today. They've already clinched at least a split in the series, winning 2 of the first 3, and they could pick up a series win behind Tyler Wells today.
All right, so I've been seeing this all day on Twitter and haven't had a chance to listen to it. He got in trouble for that? Oh my! Can we even work in radio anymore?
That game took place back on July 21st, I believe. And since then, Kevin Brown has been MIA. And, sometimes guys take some time off for any 1,000, million, billion reasons, personal reasons, medical reasons, whatever. Everybody in radio has a moment where they have to step away from the mic for a little while. Happens to all of us. Some of us knock our front teeth out. You laughed at that harder than I would have liked, but I appreciate it. All of us have to step away from the mic.
If it wasn't you, you'd be laughing as hard as I am.
I'm laughing as hard as you are, and it was me. So
they look nice. You can't tell.
So all of us have to step away for some reason, but it was an extended period of time that Kevin Brown has been gone with no word on why. Until it broke yesterday that the Baltimore Orioles had suspended Kevin Brown off the TV airwaves since calling the end of the team's series against the Tampa Bay Rays back on July 23rd. Why? Because of that comment that I just played you. Now, the reason that I played it for you and then told you the story is because I wanted to do a little experiment. Can any of you, I'll include you in this, Lonzo. Let's play the Rob Brown Show Home Edition.
Thank you. I always enjoy being included. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I feel privileged.
Good. Lonzo, Can you quote to me, hell, can you paraphrase to me anything that Kevin Brown said in that segment that I just played?
This team hasn't been very good, but they're doing pretty well now.
Close. He actually spent the majority of that moment talking about how the Baltimore Orioles have been all but skunked in series when playing those series against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. In fact, he pointed out that the Baltimore Orioles had lost 15 consecutive series that they played on the road at Tampa. In fact, he also went on to point out that the last time that the Orioles had won a series down in Tampa was like 2017. It's not a good record. But all of those numbers, when grouped together, Lonzo, are what we like to call facts. And facts, for those of you that are taking notes, are things that are true.
Yeah, but you're hired by a team to be a homer. Aren't you supposed to be a homer? Do facts get in the way sometimes when you're trying to be a homer?
No. Here's the thing. You can be a homer while still pointing out facts, right? You can be a homer and go rah, rah, shish, boom, bah. I love the O's, let's go. While also pointing out something that is true. And that's something that is true is that the Orioles have struggled mightily when they've gone down to Tampa. It is rare that you can galvanize people the way that this has galvanized people.
But are we certain that this is the reason why he was suspended?
Yes, we are. The Orioles have had multiple people. Well, let me scratch that. Multiple sources of it, multiple outlets have reported, discussing with sources in and around the organization, that he was taking off for being, quote, critical, end quote, of the Baltimore Orioles by just saying facts. Now, what's interesting about this decision is two things. Number one, while this was being discussed, there was a graphic up on the screen that had all of these numbers, all of these facts reported on it. So he was just reading them off. The second interesting thing about this was that those facts had to come somewhere. Do you know where else you could have found those facts if you were ever so inclined? By the game day promotions put out by the frickin' Orioles. They themselves created the pregame notes that went out to the news media and fans that had these exact same facts in them, but they took my dude off the air for having the stones to go, hey, this team struggles in Tampa.
All right, multiple people knew he was going to do this, right? And no one said, hey, man, you know, you probably shouldn't do this. You might get suspended for this. I doubt anyone said that because no one thinks that you'll get suspended for something like this. Because I haven't worked for MLB, but I'm guessing that you got stat guys there looking stuff up. You've got a producer, and he's got the guy who he was talking to.
As someone who has worked in television.
Who didn't go, wait. No, man, you can't say that and then immediately go into damage control. I didn't hear that. So,
as someone who has worked in the media and has specifically worked in sports media, the answer here is no. They knew what was happening. See, because there are some producers that can crank out like very simple graphics on the fly, right? Like the anchor learns a new piece of information and he goes, this just in, we've just had it reported to us by sources close to the investigation saying blah, 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 blah. And then the producer's like, types out some stuff, puts it on a cryon on the bottom. But this was like a whole screen graphic. Those aren't just made up on the fly.
I'm trying to learn this stuff, okay? I don't know why
That's why I'm here to teach you.
I don't know why you just looked at me that way and said that. So
because you are the representation of my whole audience. I'm always looking.
Okay, all right.
You have beautiful eyes.
I do, and my hair is immaculate.
So what's hilarious about this to me, aside from how stupid the decision was how quickly it galvanized other people. Let me go to clip 1A. This is Jason Benetti. Jason Benetti is the voice of the Chicago White Sox. They've got their own controversy going on right there right now about their program, but Jason Benetti decided to chime in. Yeah. Not just decided to lend a voice in support of Kevin Brown, but to make a run at Baltimore in the process. He was not alone. Let me go to clip 1B. This is Dave O'Brien. Dave O'Brien is the current voice of the Boston Red Sox. Dave O'Brien said this. Hilarious. Incredible. But he was not alone. Clip 1C. Michael Kay is one of the voices of the New York Yankees, and he took a run for his own AL East division rival. Love it. Love it. Keep popping off. Clip 1D. Gary Cohen is the voice of the New York Mets, and he chimed in. And finally, one more voice that's chimed in, and maybe the biggest of them all. Nailed it. Nailed it. That's pathetic, dude. It's pathetic. Listen, I want a voice that is going to, not just be critical, but be honest. I want to know I want to know the bad with the good, right? The reason I'm in this job was a guy, the reason I'm in this career field, was a guy years ago by the name of Buddy DiLiberto. Buddy D, they called him, down in New Orleans, Louisiana. He was not the play-by-play guy of the Saints, but he was like the voice of the Saints, right? He didn't call the games, but he called everything else. Everything. He did the call-in shows, he did the hosting shows, he did the pregame and postgame. And I very much remember games when I was a kid, and the old man would take us to the Superdome, and then after the game, you would go to the hotel that was right across the street from the Superdome, and Buddy D would do the postgame show in the bar at that hotel, and we would go over there, and Pops would grab a Miller Lite, and we sit there, and we listen to Buddy D talk about the Saints, and Buddy D just crapped on the Saints. This is back when they were atrociously bad, right? Just crapped on them. And if you called in to defend the Saints, he'd be like, listen up, you squirrel, right? You know why I called you a squirrel? Because you're nuts. He was great. And I remember listening to this guy like, oh my God, he just racks the Saints constantly, just after the next. I love this guy. It was great. That's what I want. I don't need a dude to just constantly tell me how amazing and great and spectacular and perfect my team is when they're 2-9. We suck. I know we suck. I want to know why we suck and how we're trying to fix the fact that we suck. And that's what Kevin Brown did, and it got run for it. It's crap. I know that this is a segment that probably matters more to me than all of you, but it does blow my mind that a team would have the rocks to make that decision because a dude literally did nothing more than list out a bunch of true numbers about your team. He didn't make anything up. He didn't go, oh, we stink. We suck. We're a bunch of bums. The front office needs to get run out of town on a rail. He literally just said, 15 series in Tampa, we haven't won. You got to go back to 2017 for the last one we did. Hopefully we do better in this one. And he got run for that?
I think it's awesome that, other guys in the business are speaking up for him. But do you want to go back to that job? It's hard to get a job, period, but definitely hard to get a job, this kind of job, and the job that he has. Do you want to keep that job, knowing at any moment you may say something else and you might be gone? I mean, so now does he have to have someone that he runs it by every single time? Is this okay for me to say? Is this all right for me to say? And what kind of a living is that doing that? Or do they make him come back and apologize in order to keep his job?
It's a weird spot because I can tell you as somebody who's been in this game for a very, very long time, and it took me a very long time to find this job. This job, a job that a lot of people wanted, and I had to bust it to get it, right? It took a long time to end up where I ended up. These jobs are not easy. As I say to people all the time, Lonzo, how many of your dude friends would love a job where they get paid to talk about football? All of them. All of them want this job. Every dude you know, with a couple of rare exceptions, wants to do what we want to do for a living. The demand for jobs is exceptionally high. The supply of these jobs is very low. And the higher you go up in the pecking order, the more that becomes true, right? How many jobs like this one are there available in top 15 markets in this country? Maybe 100? Maybe 100 nationwide. And there's a billion of us in this industry, right? How many professional baseball team play-by-play leads are there? There are 30 of them. There are 30 major league programs available. If this dude wants a job, now, I'm not saying that there's not an opportunity that somebody else somewhere else ends up firing or their guy retires and they don't go, hey, what about that Kevin Brown guy? Let's get him up out of Baltimore, right? But the realistic chances that happens are nil. That's why guys that get into that job, they stay there till they're in their 60s. Then they don't leave that job because once you're in that job, if you establish yourself and do a good job, you A, become a legend, and B, they don't move on from you.
See, and that's my point. I think all this noise may put added pressure on him to not go, yes, sir, and move on, because then it makes him look soft also. So, I mean, it's great that everyone's speaking up for him, but at the same, he's still trying to keep his job.
100%. Listen, it's a tough role. I think all of us in this industry have, not here, but all of us in this industry have putting up with some bull boat that a lot of y'all would slap a dude in the mouth and walk up off the job for, but I
don't know. I've seen some things.
Sure. And again, listen, I'm not saying there haven't been people that have crossed lines in this industry, for certain, for sure. But for the most part, when you are in a job, of which there are very few, and which everybody wants in, sometimes you got to put up with a little more bull boat than other people do, right? So my thought, if I'm Kevin Brown, would be, yeah, dude, I just want an apology, and then I'm back to the game, right? And we'll pretend it never happened. But at the same time, the Orioles should be embarrassed. It's an embarrassing thing that they did. And the fact that not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but at least 6 different other MLB teams, play-by-play guys, called them out by name last night when this news dropped. How many times? Can you think of another time where that's happened? I can't think of anything like it. That's incredible. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk a little Carolina Panthers. Lonzo's got an interesting take on Bryce Young. That comes courtesy of an Adam Thielen soundbite. We'll play it for you, and we'll get that take next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we got a live read right here. Stay right there. We will be right back.
Out the state of Florida. Now, I don't think the Gamecocks gives you the state of South Carolina.
For the record, I didn't say anything controversial on Saturday, Steven. I did call them the Ass Boys a couple of times. That's true. That was fun.
Time that almost perfectly.
This is Mark Ryan with Offsides, and we're going to be live at Ingles Markets in Spartanburg, 8004 Warren H. Everett at the Highway this Wednesday, 3 to 7 p.m. And we'll be doing some trivia and giving away a $25 Ingles gift card.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month for news, weather, and emergency information. A new bill in Congress would make sure AM radio remains in cars because when cellular internet services.
I knew what you were talking about, Stephen.
Ah, gotcha.
But management's going to be out of town too.
Oh,
so yeah. So we're good.
Check out the Hurricane Helms tweet I just sent you. It is comedy gold. I don't know how I didn't think of it.
I don't know who Thunderfoot is. I know I should know that.
No, he's saying the boots Rollins was wearing, those oversized Lego boots, were Crocs. They had the holes in them and everything.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were Crocs.
Yeah. So the whole Crocs verbiage, I'm still out on because I don't Croc. So
I don't Croc.
I don't. My daughter likes Crocs, but I don't. She's got the granddaughter wearing Crocs also. But probably should turn that off. Good thing that didn't happen on the air.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, Diesel, but thank you. It's now letting me know when we have copyright problems. Video got flagged for something called Premiere Godfather's Twilight. I don't know what that is. So
Was that the song we played earlier in the first segment?
I doubt it, but it could have been. Is it this video or another video? I don't
I have no idea.
pay attention like he does. Hey, I'm not a hater as far as that goes, Keegan. I just never got into those. See, you start talking Crocs, man. Look at all that stuff.
Dude.
There's some Croc knowledge going on the stream right now.
Made a Crocs. Actually, we didn't. Hurricane Helms made a Crocs joke that I talked to Lonzo about during the break on the stream, and now it's just now we're getting into Croc talk. I can't do it. I can't do it. I've heard they're wildly comfortable. I've heard that they're great for every situation. They're good on the beach. They're good on the boat. They're good for walking around. I just can't bring myself to put on Crocs.
Next on Weenus and Pitts, it's Croc Talk.
It is what it is, man.
Okay, I just I heard a little bit. I probably shouldn't.
Yeah,
do
that was you put some oomph into that.
I did. I'm paying for that now. I don't get all the hate, but I don't get all the love either. I'm just kind of indifferent. Like, yeah, you're into that, cool. I mean, whatever.
I can't bring myself to put them on. I see him. I look at. Oh my, no, Keegan, you have to leave the stream now. You have to leave, Keegan. You cannot say
no
to the Croc Pot and enjoy yourself.
That is perfect for Weenus and Pitts, though.
Oh,
the
Keegan.
Crock Pot. Next up on
you gotta go, buddy. You gotta go. I can't. You're not a dad. That's too daddy.
By the way, if April Fool's falls on a weekday, there's a good shot we're going Weenus and Pitts for 3 hours. I'm just telling you. We'll get some stuff, get some imaging done and all that kind of thing.
It's a Monday. It's even better. People won't even be thinking about it. I
like
that.
It's on a Monday.
But
okay.
Are we doing the whole voice?
Absolutely. That's so funny. Weenus.
And Pitt. All right, let's talk a little Carolina Panthers here on the Weenus and Pitt Show. Bryce Young will be getting the starting nod. Why is it getting worse?
Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that now because you're still recovering from Saturday.
Texture said Crocs no. Hey dudes are the move. I have heard a lot about the Hey dudes.
What the heck is a Hey dude?
Hey dudes are another shoe. They're more boat shoey than Crocs. But I've heard they're incredibly comfortable.
Hey dude sounds geriatric. Is it more for the older demographic, or is it? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, they're like, I don't really. I mean, they look like Sperry's, right? Like they look like boat shoes, but they're like made of cloth fabric. I'm not sure. There you go. I put some on the stream. Those are Hey dudes, and
you just been getting us flagged right and left lately, so why not?
This is just a Google image.
Okay,
We're not gonna get hit for this.
All right. You don't know.
I mean, again, like they look super comfortable. I might give them a try. We'll see. I'm not against it.
They look lazy.
I just can't bring myself. Yes, my tennis shoes are slip-on tennis shoes because yup.
Okay, well, I mean that's another sign of the old there when you were, or if you just have trouble bending over. I mean, because that way you don't. I mean, which could be a couple of different things.
Jacob in the Bird just said, "I honestly need to get a pair of replacement Crocs. Thanks for the reminder." LOL. Texture
Don't
said,
thank us. Thank the Crock
Thank
Pot.
the Crock Pot. Texture said, "Hey dudes, look like the tissue boxes Howard Hughes wore." Texture said, "Hey dudes are amazing." 5 exclamation points on the end of it. Y'all gonna talk me into trying out the Hey Dudes, man.
Welcome to the Rob Brown Show, brought to you by Hey Dudes.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad about it at all.
If you would like us to test drive your Hey Dudes, and you know a Hey Dudes dealership locally, send them our way.
Dudes dealership. Yeah, need to head on down to the Nike dealership and pick up a new set of wheels.
Dude, as expensive as Nikes are, it might as well be a dealership. And they depreciate as soon as you walk out and put them on. So, I mean, just like a car.
Oh, man. All right. Let's talk Panthers here for just a minute. Couple of different cat stories that we need to jump into. Let me start with this one. There are concerns about the Brian Burns contract, or should I say not contract yet. We are starting to see reports that not only are the Panthers and Brian Burns not any closer to signing a new contract than they were a week and a half ago when the Panthers made their first offer, but the rumors right now, the concerns are right now that they are actually still pretty far apart on that contract, which checks out. Brian Burns wants to be one of the highest paid edge rushers in the NFL right now. And frankly, based on performance, he deserves to be one of the highest paid edge rushers in the NFL right now. But how high does he deserve to go? How high does he deserve to get paid? What's that money look like? Well, we saw Yannick Ngakoue get signed, a 4-year, $3.5 million contract with the Jags that got upped by the Bears not too long ago. A 1-year, $10.5 million contract. Does Brian Burns deserve Yannick Ngakoue money? Yes. Yes, of course he does. So if you're Carolina, you're staring down the barrel of how long, and I think it's less about the money, Zoe, and more about the length of time, right? Because Brian Burns wants to be a Panther. He has made that abundantly clear time and time again. He wants to be in Charlotte. He wants to stay in Charlotte. And I respect that, and I respect him saying that. But do you want to sign him to 3 years, 5 years, 7 years? Like, how deep do you want to go down the rabbit hole for Spider Burns?
Well, strictly from a fan perspective, sign him.
Right. Yes, obviously. I'm on board with that 100%. Sign him versus how do you sign him? How long do you sign him?
Yesterday.
How long do you sign him for? These are all the things that...
Don't you believe that this is possibly one of those? I mean, there are some players that don't really need training camp. And so, like, the last day of training camp, suddenly this deal gets done. And
I would say that,
there.
but he's at training camp. Like, he's there. He's working out. He's at camp. That's what I'm saying. Now, he is still on his rookie deal. His rookie deal is worth $16 million guaranteed, right?
So wait a minute. So I guess I misunderstood. So he's at practice.
Yep.
He's practicing.
Yep.
And he has a contract for this year.
He is on a rookie contract this year. But the thing is...
So this is about next year.
He wants the extension moving forward. And I think he's earned the extension.
But he's going to play this year.
He's going to play.
Oh, okay.
The question is, does he play for one more season or 5?
I think this is more of a fear for next year. I know you want to sign him now, but he's playing this year, though.
Correct. He is playing this year. Here's the problem. If he goes out there and he kicks ass this year, the bid market for next year skyrockets because next year there are not as many edge rushers available on the free agency market, and teams get very concerned about drafting edge rushers way high up in the draft. It does happen, but they see a bunch of guys like Marcus Davenport with the Saints that don't work out, and you're kind of burning draft picks when more guys don't work out the deal, or at least work out at a very high level. The problem is if you don't sign him, he finishes up his rookie year. He has a hell of a year as he's expected to this year. And then he goes into open bidding next year. You might let the guy walk over what? A couple of $1 million that he would have earned anyway. You got to get this done, and you got to get it done now. The longer you make, this is the other part. It's the psychology behind it. The longer that you make him wait, the longer that you put this off and you don't reach a deal, does there come a point where he goes, I said I wanted to be here and it was true, but I'm kind of like I lost the edge, right? Like I have. You ever put everything you had into trying to date somebody? And you're doing all the nice things and you're bringing the flowers and you're picking up, and then they just keep, I'm not ready for a long-term relationship. And you're like, that's fine, I'll wait. And then you go to movies and you go to dinner and you do this and you do that. And they keep going, I'm not ready for a long-term relationship. Okay, I'll wait. And then after a while, eventually you get burned out. And after a while, you eventually get to the point where you go, you know what? I can't wait anymore. I'm moving on. I'm going to find somebody who wants to be around me. And then you go on, and almost inevitably that person calls a year later and they're like, I'm ready now. Sorry. You missed your chance and somebody's doing right by me, right? I don't want that situation for Brian Burns and the Cats. Get this done. Get it done. Let's move on. Let's get done with it. All right, a couple of other stories we learned a couple of days ago that Bryce Young will be QB1 for preseason game number 1 coming up this Saturday when the Panthers host the Jets. And good, frankly, good. I want my rook to get game time action. I don't want to roll him out there in week 1 to learn the speed of the NFL. Even if it is primarily against backups, I want him to show me that he is that dude. Well, one person who says that he is being that dude right now is Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. A show that, by the way, has been very, very pleased with watching Bryce Young develop as a football player. Pat asked Adam Thielen about BY, and this is how it went down. You had a thought, Lonzo, before we went out to the last segment.
All right, so when something is so hyped to a degree and everyone's saying the same, aren't you a little suspicious? It's like when the next new big movie's coming out. Oh yeah, I really liked it, and it's getting great reviews and everything, and then it flops. I hope he's everything they say he is. You can be very smart and still not be able to play the game how it needs to be played in the NFL. And we haven't seen him do that yet. So it's good that he's playing in the preseason. I'm naturally a little bit skeptical when people are talking about how great something is. But I hope that he's as good or as great as advertised. I'm just a little worried. And I got a small sample at practice when we went to FanFest. And
you didn't sound super blown away by that.
no, I'm not. But I also was told he had a bad day. And, we're seeing reports from guys like Rashad who are out there every day or almost every day and seeing all the great things that he is doing. And I worry about overhype. I really do. I'm not worried about him hearing the hype and going, yeah. He played at Alabama. He knows what pressure is. But still, I'm just worried about all the extra hype. I also noticed that apparently our guy Hayden Hurst is suddenly becoming his number one guy.
I'm sorry, who
which was predicted.
I'm sorry, who
Who
is saying that a good tight end is a rookie quarterback's best friend and that Hayden Hurst was going to be the most valuable offseason pickup? Who said hello?
And the only guy in that practice, who knows how to dress for South Carolina.
It was hot, bro.
Yeah.
It was hot, dog. Yeah. Hayden Hurst is going to be a big-time member of this team this year. I tried to tell you all that. I was right. I'm going to stay right. You're going to see I was right. That being said, I'm not super worried about it.
There's just a little bit of me that's concerned. That's all.
I get it. I'm not all that concerned about it for a handful of reasons. I am not super concerned about it primarily because it is not so much about a coach saying that rookie quarterback is or is not. To me, I'm listening to how guys say things and the things they don't say versus what they do. You know what I haven't noticed? A lot of coaches, when they're talking about their rookie quarterbacks, what are they talking about? Learning the pace of the game, making the mistakes. You got to work through the mistakes. You got to learn through this. You got to experience that. You don't hear that about Bryce Young. Honestly. Go back and listen to any of the comments from Adam Thielen or Frank Reich or any of these guys and listen to the way they talk about BY. It is not, he's making mistakes and he's learning from those mistakes. He's breaking down those mistakes and getting better. He's learning about the speed of the game because it's faster than he's used to or that he's capable of keeping up with right now. None of that. It is all, this dude got it. And that makes me buy in. Not what they are saying, what they're not saying. We wrap the show up next when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Joe hit a home run in the fourth, helping the fourth-place Pirates hand the Major League leading Braves their third consecutive loss. Strider had gone 8-1 in his previous 12 starts. With the setback, he drops to 12-4. The pitcher was the runner-up in National League Rookie of the Year voting last season. He matched a career low, lasting just 2 2/3. Ozzie Albies homered. Matt Olson drove in a pair of runs for the Braves. And Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
You guys are on stream right now. Just pointing that out. Yeah. So, you should wave. Yeah. You're right there. You are. No, you're perfectly centered, sir, as always. What do you mean? Well, come on, Steven. Well, I applaud. I'm the only one talking about it. Absolutely. He's going to win that thing. I don't care if the guy who's been there has won 12 years in a row. Rob's got this. Absolutely. I'm nervous. The boss is in the room. He's like staring over my shoulder. It's scary. And I see what you do. Yeah, I see what you're doing, James. And I'm not going to partake in that. But yeah, you're right. That's all I do, sir. Then I'll just be lazy and hide in the office the rest of the day. Wow. How do you cut a penny? I don't know. I don't know how you do that. Oh, okay. Maybe a torch, something like that. You know what I might do, Steven? I may start the wave. We're all going to be, it'll be a cowboy wave because we're all going to be dressed up as cowboys and whatever, I guess, cowgirls. So, yeah. Yeah, because I'm not people. So, I mean, you know.
I expected you over there.
Yeah, that's not. I am.
It's our pleasure.
Tell me that didn't scare you when you. Come on, dude. Come on.
Absolutely.
You couldn't hear their voices outside the room. He threatened to cut my pay, and I asked him how he could cut a penny. He said he had a saw. So, I mean, you know. That, by the way, in case you didn't know, that was the boss. Which is why I immediately got nervous. Steven asked me if I was going to applaud when you win that award. Applaud when I'm starting a cowboy wave. I might even throw my hat. And you know what? I spent a lot of money on that hat. At least for me, it was a lot of money. So I'm worried if I throw it, it might break or something. Can a hat break? Can a cowboy hat break? Does it break?
It can bend.
I know it can be misshaped because the lady told me how they fix those for free at the boot bar.
So you got a decent hat then.
I don't think they sell anything that's not decent. All right, so that was the ruler of the upstairs. Yes.
The ruler.
The lord of the downstairs and the entire building. That was not him.
Correct.
Yes. Just in case he's watching, he always has such a perfect tan. I don't know how he does that. Maybe he's got people. When you're in that position, you got people. Yeah. Although we are his people, but still. I think you all know this is not nervous chatter from me. He's like, so this is what you do all day? Yep, that's what I do. Doing what I do all day, yo.
X gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you.
Time to tell you what the X is going on. Or Rob's going to tell us what the X is going on. I'm going to mention something that's Xing right now, yo. And he's going to tell us why they Xing. What?
I like it.
You don't know me. You don't know where I'm from. The first thing that's Xing, yo, is Triceratops.
Okay. So Triceratops is awesome. And let me tell you why. So incredible about the Triceratops was where the vertebrate column actually enters the skull. It actually had a full ball joint there. And what that allowed to do is it allowed the Triceratops to use the neck as a battering ram. But in order to do that, it's obviously got to drop its head down. But it's obviously got to be able to pick the head up to look around, be able to move the head left and right, etc. And so it evolved this really interesting, complex setup there that's a ball joint instead of a hinge joint, like a lot of folks, or multiple joints back and forth. That's very unique in its skeletal build, and I'm sure that's why it's trending, as people are talking about the skeletal anatomy of a Triceratops.
You know, I tried to figure out why Triceratops was trending. I wasn't going to put it on here, but I wanted Rob to have a chance to drop some knowledge on the peeps, and he just did that. I mean, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, someone's like, if you say something about video games to me, I'm probably going to jump in and have that kind of knowledge and maybe sound like I know what I'm talking about, like what Rob did. But I don't know why. It just suddenly started trending. I looked it up, and there's just a bunch of pictures and things. But I didn't know that about the ball joint thing. That's kind of cool.
For just a second, I would like all of you to take a moment, and let's just all be kids again. What's your favorite dinosaur?
So what you just looked up Triceratops.
Yep.
So that's one of the things that popped
I
up.
Absolutely love it. You know what? You know why I love it? I love it because I could sit here and go off
All
for
right,
3 hours.
I'm gonna go with Stegosaurus.
That's a good pick. For the record, my favorite thing about Stegosaurus, its tail is called a thagomizer. That's literally the name of the spiky things on the end is called a thagomizer. And there's a reason for that. It is because it did not have a name. And there was one day that the Far Side comic, you remember Far Side?
Yes.
Far Side put out a comic where they had a bunch of cavemen and they were pointing to an illustration of the tail. And what was the guy that drew the Far Side's name? I forgot his name. Anyway, it was Gary Larson. Gary Larson drew the comic of some cavemen pointing at the tail and saying, we're calling this the Thagomizer in memorial of our late friend Thag, insinuating he was killed by it. Well, scientists at the time realized they didn't actually have a name for that thing. So in honor of the Far Side comic, that part of a Stegosaurus is now actually scientifically referred to as a Thagomizer.
That's awesome. Far Side's one of those comic strips that sticks with you. The one that I just remember when I think Far Side, two fishermen on a lake, there's a mushroom cloud in the distance. One guy looks at the other guy and says, screw the limit. I just always sticks with me. All right. The next thing is Xing Yo. Not for a good thing, but folding is Xing.
Folding? All right. As in the chair. See, I immediately went with yesterday. Rob was asked to change
don't fold
the
them.
sheets on the bed and did so and realized that at 38 years old, to this day, I am not exaggerating, Alonzo. I watched not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. I watched 5 different YouTube videos on how to correctly fold a fitted sheet and still I'm like following step by step. You want embarrassing? I got the lady friend holding the phone. She knows how to do it. I got her holding the phone, pressing pause after every step, right? So it's just like step 1, hold it and do this. And so I do that. And she's like and she would pause it. And I would do that. And then she'd play it. And I watch step 2. And then she paused it. I did step 2 every time.
I don't know if you guys have heard this one. How does a millennial fold a folded sheet?
I roll that SOB up into a ball and I stuff it in the back of the closet. It's back there somewhere with the 3 other ones we got.
People are taking pictures with folded chairs right now, and that's the big thing.
I respect that. Bleep around, find out. That's how that game goes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later. Yeah. And that's it, kid. That's a radio show right there. That's how we do. My wife can fold it perfectly every time, then beat me at Topgolf and Call of Duty. Not cool. No, that's very cool, Steven. That's very cool. That's a winner, my guy. That's a winner.
Because why are you complaining, dude?
Scratch that. You know what? Let me
Don't complain about that.
Let me amend that. If she can beat you at Topgolf and Call of Duty, and she still loves you and has fun with you, that's a winner. It's when they beat you and then they don't ever let it go.
That just means, no, let's face it, Steven, that just means you're eye candy. If she can do all that and you're still with her, you're eye candy, dude.
That's still great.
No, that means
you're with the
feel
girl
better
who
about
can
yourself.
beat dudes at golf and
You
Call
are
of
eye
Duty.
candy.
That's great. That's a good thing. Congratulations. That's a winner. All right, dudes, y'all are awesome. Thanks so much for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. We'll try to enjoy it again tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.